All right, we're live.
So we want to talk about.
So we'll basically talk about, keep up with, how everything's changing more from the hard dogs and going away from the actual hunting aspect of the terriers, which we touched a little bit on that, but also about Bix, just some of the hunts with Tony, Todd, some of them guys.
Yeah, so I got Bix when Tony called me and said that he had a dog, a pup, that he thought he was going to turn out. He thought he would do something. He had a dead coyote over there, and he was ragging the carcass, and he was like 7 months old or something like that. And he goes, he's not a real big dog or anything like that, but he goes, I think he'd make a dog. You want him, come over here and get him. So I said, yeah, I was looking for another dog, so I went straight over there and picked him up. So I had him from the time he was 8 months old until he died. I think he was 13 or 14 when he died. I believe he died in 01.
When was it that Rich was going to try to get him collected?
Rich came up here, and we did do a collection. Rich came up, we collected him. He had a lot of swimmers, but the sperm wasn't good enough. The dog, Hutch is like the best there is in the United States, okay? He's world renowned, like all your Hollywood dogs, their sperm kept up. Tony had all kinds of dogs up there, sperm up. That's where you do, they got the best. And he said he thought it was only maybe 25, 30% good. So, Rich was like,
So not even half.
Yeah, it was like, for it to take, it was probably not going to work. And it's a shame, too. I just didn't have the money at the time. It was pretty expensive to have, you're looking at several $1,000s at the time to have it collected. So I got the dog. We started the dog. I hunted him some. I got him started on my own. And Tony wanted me to wait till he was a little bit older, but he was ready to go. So I would say by the time he was 10 months old, he was already full go. And by the time he was a year, he was done. He was completed. He was finished out. And he had to be held back, actually, because he was so aggressive. And he was a pretty hard dog when he was younger. But he had a great nose. And so I hunted him. I want to say I think he died in 01, so he's probably 13 or 14. And I hunted him hard all the way up until he was about 11 or 12. And then we had him out one day, and he just started running around, acting goofy. And Tony says, man, something's wrong, And we were watching him on the set, and we knew there was a groundhog there, because I think we'd actually physically saw it. And we knew it was there, and he was acting totally goofy, and he had just kind of just lost all at once, man, like lost his faculties, just like he wasn't all there. So I retired him. I said, you know what? He's going to sit at home on his tie out all day, and, we'll give him treatment. He's a hell of a dog. We probably filled 2 or 3 pickup trucks over the game, that we got with him. But unfortunately, I had only ever bred the dog. I want to say, I think Todd Fulford maybe had a bitch that we bred to, and I had a couple bitches here that I only bred the dog 3 or 4 times, and only sold the pups to hunting to maybe a guy named Riviotta of Michigan, and I mean he's really the only guy that I even know that hunted.
During that time.
Yeah, during that time, that most of them went to pet homes or what have you. So, and I just, nobody was really Patterdales weren't that big of a deal back then.
Right.
They were in Europe, but over here, they cracked down on a dog fighting and all this other type of stuff, and a lot of those guys wanted some kind of dog, a little hard dog to
basically what I call the washout.
Yeah. They just all of a sudden, and now if I would have known how popular like Patterdales have come a lot, and they're still not as popular, nowhere near as a lot of other dogs, but they've become popular. I would have probably bred him, but I never cared about getting my name out there and all that. I just hunted, man. We hunted all the time. That's what we did. We went all over Ohio, hunted all kinds of property, and a lot of game. And we never had a bad hunt with that dog. And that dog, I want to say that dog almost died twice on us. He overheated one time real bad with Tony. And it was bad, And Tony had an IV bag in the car, and he had some dexamethasone in the car. He's an old pit guy. He never fought pits, but he took care of a lot of pit bulls. So the dex will thin your blood out.
Yep.
So he's like, listen, man, you run to the car, because I'm younger than him. So I run to the car, and there was we had a big jug of water. He goes, when I get there, I'm gonna set the IV up. So I got there, I got him under the water. He was in bad shape. he had completely collapsed now. And so Tony hit him with the IV, and he had almost a half a bag of IV in him, and he still wasn't. And Tony says, well, I'm going to hit him with the Dex. And so he hits him with the Dex. And he's starting to come around. He goes, man, you want me to do another? I said, do another one. So we hit him with 2 shots of Dex and like 3/4 of a bag of saline. And like 20 minutes later, he was up, standing up full bore. And his skin, he had so much liquid in him. Like you pushed underneath the skin, it was like he was just sloshing around. You know?
Like a water bag.
Yeah, like a water bag. And so he took 2 full shots of Dex and that got. But if Tony wouldn't have had that Dex and we wouldn't have had that, I don't know if he would have made it, man. He was in bad shape. And then another time we had him, the same thing happened to him again, and we got him under some cool water and cooled him off. And I was also digging at my dad's house, and we hit a ground nest of yellow jackets, and he got stung about 10 or 12 times.
Was that the time Pick was with you?
No, that was the last time. I'll tell that one in a minute. But I was at my dad's, and they got into us, and I got stung about 15, 20 times, but he got stung. You know, he only weighed like 12, 13 pounds, but you get stung 15, 20 times, man. That's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, he almost went in shot. He was okay. And then the last time I ever took him hunt, I took him out with Piccolo, and Pick wanted to see him, and he was already, you know, probably 12, and he was, you know, he
right
had
at
been
the end.
senile, yeah, at the end. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take him out. We're going to take him. I said, I don't know, man. You know, he's not doing real good. He's getting up there quite a bit, and he's a little loopy, but, you know, he won. So I got him ready. He was all excited. He wanted to go. He knew what was up. We got him, and we went down to a pig farm that we hunted a lot. And we hunted the riverbank. We always hunted that. There was always holes there. And he got on a coon, and he actually bottled it up. It was in a big set, and me and Pick, we popped into it, but we hit a damn yellowjack nest at the same time, so we got stung about 4 or 5 times. And then when we looked down there, he was with the coon. And then he had actually locked up with him, but he had lost teeth by then, and he couldn't hold on. He wasn't strong anymore like he was when he was younger. But he held on to him, he found him, and he ended up getting away from him. And then we just, you know, we leashed him up after that. But that was the last time that he ever went out. So it was kind of cool, you know, he went out one last time, and I think he might have lived maybe another 7 or 8 months after he started having seizures and stuff. And then one morning I went out, I had some pups, I went out to feed the pups, and I heard him coughing. He didn't really come out of his box. And when I came back home that day, he was dead. He had just curled up, went to sleep in the box, and that was it.
You think that was due to running too hot on that day?
Yeah, you know, it's hard to say, man. I mean, that dog had been through a lot. You know what I mean? You're talking, you know, 3 or 4 times at that, almost suffocating a couple times. I mean, if you hunt a terrier, a good, hard terrier, and you can get 11, 12 years out of them and they don't get killed or all their teeth are gone or something, that's pretty, you know. I mean, hunting them, you know, real hunting.
Right.
I'm not talking just bullshit of rolling some dog on top of the ground in a damn box trap or turning some dog loose in the house and letting him catch a cat or a coon. You know, I'm talking about you're digging, it takes you an hour to get to the dog, and the dog's down there banging the whole time. Or, you know, and that's not happened once, it's happened 100 times. You know what I mean? That's a lot. That's a lot of wear and tear on a 13, 14-pound dog, you know. And I always made sure that, you know, our dogs, Tony was always a stickler too, like, don't hunt that dog if they're sore, you know, or that's sore, or chewed up, or beat up, because the dog's not going to be performed correctly, number one.
Right.
And then you're going to start losing parts of their face and their teeth. You have to give the dog. A lot of these morons, you know, they think it's cool. They got a dog. My dog's got no face. So if your dog's not a face, it's because you're an idiot.
Right.
Because either you hunted the dog, number one, you didn't dig down to the dog in time. You hunted the dog while he was still sore or tore up, and it never healed up properly and ended up falling off. You know, I've only ever seen out all the digs one time get a dog's face almost tore off. And I was with Tony. He had an old bitch. I can't think of her name. She was a nut old dog. She's a great dog, and she got basically the side of her face chewed off. But the groundhog was like 20. He was 20 plus. He looked like a badger. He was so big. And it just took us, we were in some tree roots, and we got to her, but she took a lot of damage. And she lost part of one side of her, not the whole thing to like where her teeth were exposed, but she had lost, you know, a chunk. We couldn't get to her in time. It was a mess. But you see these guys, and all of this is gums and teeth. And it's like you're a moron. You know, look like the Joker or something. You hunted that dog while he was chewed to pieces. You kept hunting him, and now, you know, it's just, you know, a lot of these guys that are in this are just idiots.
Well, you didn't try to bring them back 100%.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to make sure they're
Healed up and ready.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. Is if the dog's too hard and you're hunting these hard ass, so you're not gonna be able to hunt that dog that much because if he's gonna get banged up, he's gonna get chewed up, or he's gonna get killed. Because I've seen it. You know, you get down with a big coon in the ground with a 20+ coon, and they just chew each other to pieces.
Right.
And a coon can take a lot of punishment, probably more than a dog can. They got a lot. Their skin, they're more flexible. They can take more. They got more fat on them. You know, your hunt dog is all muscle basically. You know, if they're in shape and everything, they don't have all that extra skin. You know that a coon has, where you can get latched onto. And you know, they got canines like a dog, and they just bite each other to death. And then Tony's lost 2 or 3 dogs like that where they went into shock. Afterwards, you know, you try to save them, but they die overnight or whatever. They just took too much stick, you know, and they didn't make it.